Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. We have something new on the channel and it's quite interesting because we actually have an SK Hynix SSD and a USB drive. And it's not any ordinary USB drive and it's a Gen 4 SSD. But what's it all about? We have the SK Hynix Platinum P41 SSD. This is Gen 4 x 4 PCIe NVMe M.2 with 2 terabytes of storage. Unfortunately, there is no 4 terabyte version, but you have it in 512 gigs and 1 terabyte as well. And then for the USB stick, now this one is a bit different. Now we have SK Hynix Tube T31 1 terabyte stick SSD, which means, well, first of all, it's Life of P edition. So it's kind of limited. I think it is limited, but it's quite interesting when we're talking about the design and everything. And as you can see, it is a bit bulkier when we're comparing USB sticks in general, but it will go into details when we talk about this. And finally, this one goes into comparison and goes into, let's say, not collaboration, but it goes in pair with the Platinum P41. We have the SK Hynix Haechi H01. This is a heatsink for PlayStation 5. As you can see, it has a quite nice design, SK Hynix logo at the bottom, quite thick. Well, I think this is basically the same thickness as on the PS5, but regardless of that. And you have a thermal pad right here at the bottom, which has layer that you need to remove before placing it on your PS5. Unfortunately, I don't have a PS5 to test out the SSD with this cooling, with this passive heatsink, so I'm just actually presenting it to you. But when we're talking about the Platinum P41 NVMe, it's a single-sided SSD, so we have the DRAM, controller, and 2 NAND packages on one side. You don't have any type of passive heatsink or a foil or whatever sticker, whatever you usually see on other SSD reviews. You have basically just a sticker with regular information, SK Hynix Platinum P41 NVMe. On the other side, we have more information, but it's basically irrelevant since we're talking about part number, serial number, and other stuff. So when we're talking about some specifications, it has a new Aries controller with SK Hynix 176-layer TLC flash. The Aries controller is SK Hynix as well, of course. This is a new one. And then we have DRAM LPDDR4. We have 1200 TBW, as I stated, single-sided, with outstanding performance and quite competitive prices, which we will get to that part quite soon. And then we have the Life of P USB stick. Now, as you can see, it's a Type A stick and it goes up to 10 gigabits per second. What we have inside is what it makes it a bit bulkier. So we have 42mm M.2 SSD inside, PCI 3.0 drive, a J-Micron GM S583 USB bridge controller is inside. And the cool thing about this USB stick is they added cooling on both sides of the drive and the controller in form of metal plates and thermal pads. So it kind of is a bit different. When you take it apart, you can see actually the plates on each side, and it is a bit heavier than your regular, I would say, USB stick. And here on the top we have an indication light, quite cool graphics, and a bit different, but a cool and interesting thing because it's 1 terabyte and it has quite nice speeds. So when we're talking about the speeds of the SK Hynix Life of P Tube T31, ASSD has read speeds 916.22 megabytes per second, while the write speeds 876.08 megabytes per second. Then we have AutoDisk benchmark read speeds 1027.45, while the write speeds are 1012.11 megabytes per second. And Crystal Disk Mark, we have write speeds at 1056.68 and write speeds 1019.29 megabytes per second. Also, when you take into consideration that this SSD, this, well, USB drive, since it has an SSD, can definitely go higher with the speed, since we're talking about PCI Gen 3 x 4. you can't achieve more since it's a Type A connectivity and it goes up to 10 gigabits per second. But if there was a Type C connection, it could definitely reach higher speeds. So quite interesting. Definitely, if you don't need 20 gigabits per second drive, you can definitely check this one out, because it's interesting with the price, design, and it's something completely different. You have it without this graphic as well, so Tube T31 in complete black version, so it might be quite interesting for some of you guys. Then we go with the Platinum P41 benchmarks as well, where we discuss ASSD, 6200 06.54 megabytes per second read and write speed 6311.29 megabytes per second. It actually went up to 56 degrees Celsius when benchmarking. The NATO disk benchmark read speeds went up to 6.89 gigabytes per second, while the write speed 6.48 gigabytes per second with thermals at 63 degrees. Crystal Disk Mark read speeds go up to 7321.45 megabytes per second and write speeds 6737.15 megabytes per second, with thermals even reaching 66 degrees. So IOPS read 1.3 million and IOPS write 1 million. And with the benchmark of that 54.9 gigabyte file, read speed 4.01 gigabytes per second, write speed 3.52 gigabytes per second. So basically, when you take into consideration that they switched and added a new controller, which they designed, of course, the SK Hynix Aries in the Platinum P41, taking into consideration that this is 2 terabytes, single-sided, DRAM, you have the controller and two NAND packages on the same side, which doesn't create any bulkiness. Unfortunately, it doesn't have any passive heatsink or sticker, as you usually see, as already stated, which would definitely help out with the heat dissipation when you place it under the original passive heatsink of the motherboard, which will definitely create a better cooling. This one does run a bit hotter than usual, but you don't have to worry, because I didn't encounter any thermal throttling, which would be really strange in this year for Gen 4 to have a Gen 4 SSD that thermal throttles. This one is outstanding with the performance and quite nice competitive prices, as are already stated. So when we're taking this into consideration, you could definitely plug it in your PS5 and pair it up with their Haechi H01, which kind of does look quite cool, even though you won't be able to see it, but definitely prevents it from thermal throttling. And then we take into consideration the price and everything all together. I think this currently could be a PC Crazy approved badge, without a doubt, because of the price and the performance. And you have DRAM, 2 terabyte, and quite nice altogether configuration, without a doubt. When we take all of that into one package, place it in the P41, there you have it. So guys, yeah, that's it. The links for the Platinum P41 Gen 4 SSD, Cube T31 Lies of P Edition Stick SSD as well, and the Haechi H01 heatsink for PS5 in the description below. You can check out all the prices and all the information that you need to know. And finally, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, click the notification bell so you don't miss future content. Thanks for sticking by, and see you quite shortly. Bye bye, guys.